Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallama ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa tabi'ina lahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin wa alayna ma'ahum wa fihim bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. To proceed, this is our 40th lesson. Lesson number 40 in this blessed text, the ship of salvation. We are covering earth ablution or tayammum. We are in section 7a, and the translation says 3 things allow for the earth ablution at tayammum. And you'll remember from our last lesson that these are actually causes for an inability, which is the real thing that allows for earth ablution, and that is inability to use water physically or legally. And the first of these 3 causes of that inability is loss of water. فقد الماء. فقد الماء. One might also translate this as lack of water. Water is simply not there. And a person in a state of minor or major ritual impurity is allowed to perform earth ablution when they lack water, and that replaces, with conditions and details that will be discussed, the performance of ablution, wudu, and ghusl for them. So when they need to pray and they lack water, instead of performing wudu, ablution in the case of minor ritual impurity, or ghusl, a purifying bath in the case of major ritual impurity, they do earth ablution, tayammum, as will be described in upcoming lessons. However, how do we establish this lack of water, right? What does it mean to lack water? What are the details of that? So if they are certain that they lack water, right? They have yaqeen, 100%. They know there is no water. For example, they're locked in a room and they know they have no access to water, right? Or they're in the middle of a dry, flat, barren desert and they know there's no water there. Even if they've been informed by an upright person, and there's a difference of opinion there, but Imam Ramli says even if an adal informs them of that, it is sufficient, an upright person. So if they have certainty of lack of water, they perform tayammum in the prayer time, and then other details will be mentioned there. A second level of the possibility of water, or of water, is there is a possibility of water. Either they're confident that there's water, which is greater than 50%, or they deem it possible, and that's 50-50, or even they deem it unlikely, but there's still a possibility, right? If there's any possibility of water, they must search for water. And the distance that they must search is called Hadd al-Ghawth, the distance where a cry for help would be heard or responded to quickly, right? Called Hadd al-Ghawth. What is that distance? That distance is 300 cubits. We've talked about a cubit before. It's 4 arms length of an average height man. It's about 48 centimeters, so that distance is just shy of 150 meters, right? So to that distance in all 4 directions, they must search or look, right? By walking back and forth. If they're at a flat plain, they look in every direction with no obstructions, whatever, but they have to search out to that distance if there's any possibility, right? And that distance is called, it's 300 cubits. It's called Hadd al-Ghawth, the distance where you could, a cry for help would be heard. Or you might say the distance where you'll be helped. The next level is if the person who's going to make tayammum is certain that water exists out to 1.5 miles, mile and a half. And that distance is called Hadd al-Qurb. It's within a close distance. It's a distance about, the fuqaha say it's about a 45-minute walk. And that's at a slow pace. So that was a distance. How do they define that distance? That was a distance, a traveler. You're talking about in the past where people would be traveling by, horses or camels or what have you, that a traveler who stopped would walk to get firewood or water. So that gives you an idea of the vigor of the ancients, right? And our modern laziness. So they considered a 1.5 mile walk for water for wudu not a distant walk, right? So if you are sure water is within 1.5 miles of you, you can't make tayammum, right? Unless you have another cause. Beyond that is called hadd al-bu'd, what's the distance that's considered far, and that's beyond 1.5 miles. Again, so if there's any possibility, they have to search out to 300 cubits. If they're certain, they have to go out to 1.5 miles. Even if they're certain, they don't have to go beyond 1.5 miles to get water. And one of the things we understand from this is that people, for example, in modern cities where the water, for example, in their neighborhood is shut off due to work on a water main, for example, the municipality is doing some sort of street work, they shut down the water for a couple of city blocks. And people say, oh, can I make tayammum now? No, you can't. Because all of us know that, the mosque that's 1 mile away or what have you, there's water there. Or the neighbor or the convenience store 1/2 mile away has water. You don't have water right at your site. You got to go get that water and make wudu rather than tayammum. And when do you have to search? There's one other condition about searching. You only have to search if you're safe. So you're safe, life, limb, and also, safe from the women folk being accosted, right? So if you're in a dangerous place, you don't have to walk 1.5 miles, right? If you're physically threatened, or the people you're leaving behind are physically threatened. Also, your property has to be safe, and you have to be safe from getting separated from the travelers you're with. Also, you have to be safe from prayer time exiting. So if water is 1.5 miles away and the prayer time is going to go out, you can make tayammum. However, a search that is within 300 cubits, you don't have to be safe about the prayer time because it's considered with you, right? It's 150 yards, walk 150 yards. Take you all of a few seconds. So otherwise, you must search unless you are unsafe at one of these things. And that is tayammum due to a lack of water, and that is a physical lack of water, and that is the primary cause of tayammum, inability to use water physically or legally, and in this case, this is a physical inability to use water, and the person in minor or major ritual impurity who is in this case, the Sharia allows them the dispensation of doing earth ablution tayammum instead of the wudu that they would have made, or the purifying bath, the ghusl that they would have made, and that is with other conditions and details of how it is performed that will follow. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sallam, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.